Okay then guys, onto the door. This is our next task. We'll show you how we're going with this. Again, unsurprisingly, it'd be quite nice if we had somebody helping us because doors are quite heavy. Haven't got that again, so I've got some pads laid out ready to be used. Got some equipment that I think I'm going to need ready. And if you remember when we first looked, we've got certain things we need to be working with. Now, the wing had a side repeater, the bonnet that had a washer jet pipe, and the door's no different. We've got a wiring harness in there, supplies the little speakers, the main speakers, central locking, electric windows and mirrors, etc, etc. So we've got some cables to disconnect. Now a lot of cars have a multi-block connector here. Take this cover off and it's there. From memory, on the Micra, it's behind this trim. Looking at that, it's been off before, so I'm guessing that's accurate. There's a method and a process I like to use. Check strap remove first. Sometimes that lets you open the door a little bit wider, gives you a couple of mil extra room to get to the wiring harness. That's the next to disconnect. And then the hinges. What we do is we remove the bottom hinge bolts first and the top last. And the reason for that, if we undo the top hinge bolts first, the door wants to fall. It will pull away and it will buckle and twist this bottom hinge. If we remove the bottom bolts first, the door's wanting to drop, but it's naturally pushing towards the hinge. It pivots on the top one. So it doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't cause any damage, and it's just the best way to do it. Use gravity as your friend, not your enemy. Okay? So, let's have a go at that. We'll get this check strap disconnected first. That's a 10mm. Again, make sure we don't catch any of these trims. And what I'm going to do, while this bolt's still there, I'm going to push this door in. You can see the check strap move and click. Okay, and now when I wind it out, that check strap is recessed a little bit into the door. Again, just helps us with a bit of access, and it's really simple to remedy that when we put the door back on. Check strap's job, just in case you were wondering, that's the bit that stops the door from flying open and slamming closed, especially if there's a bit of a breeze or a wind. It just controls the speed that the door opens and shuts, so it's quite important that that's attached properly. There's quite a lot of force goes through there, so it needs to be a good solid connection as well. Okay, right, let's have a feel around. I can feel a little clip behind there, that's popped. I would imagine there's someone here. Again, golden rule, if in doubt, don't start ragging and tearing things, just gently tease. There we are, and that's come off nicely. There's a clip there, and a clip behind there. Brilliant. I'm going to keep that in place. You notice I've put a little mat down and seat covers, obviously. We don't want to protect the customer's interior. I don't think we're going to be that lucky. No, that wire goes elsewhere. But, yep, there we go. Feels like there's two wires, two cables. They're a bit tricky to get to, so I'm going to see if I can push this grommet through, and it feels like I can, yep, and that's just given us a few more millimetres of movement. And again, it might be nice to just, there we go, that's disconnected that clip, and struggling to see a bit there. I would imagine it's that top one. Yep, and there we go. So that's those two disconnected. And if I just poke that through there with my hand and my fingers. There we go. I'm sorry, I'm not sure how much of this you can actually see. And you'll notice there were two block connectors, one quite large, one relatively small. I'll try to pull the smaller one through first. And that should give it a bit of room for the larger one to follow. He says, struggling a bit. There we are, I think there we go, that's one. Oh, just avoiding it, there we go. And then the other. And that's two. Crikey, oh, and we've ripped our gloves. Hey ho. I'll replace them in a moment or two. So, onto the nuts holding the door on. We can use a combination spanner. We've got the C end, which is really good for quick, easy access. The ring end, and that gives us more leverage. More points of contact, more grip basically. There's no law saying it has to go this way, and if we did it would clash. So I'm going to put it backwards, and there we go, nice and gentle. We'll just crack these with the C-span and making sure we don't catch any of the paintwork. Let's get a few turns on there. Get a few turns on there. And at this point we could maybe even use the ratchet. I'll put my fingers underneath there again. If I slip, I just give my fingers a little bit of a tap rather than damaging the customer's car, scratching the paintwork. That's quite tough, but we're there. For speed, and I think I've got access. Again, checking that's off. Yep, that might be a bit tight when it comes to removing it, so now that's hand tight. My head, that's the bottom bolt, so that sits at the bottom there. Let's move this seat cover. Pop my tools out of the way, give myself a bit of room. And again, that feels like it should come off by hand now. I'm being quite fortunate here. There we go. I'm going to pop that there. And then probably the top one. By hand. That's the top one. And then if we notice, this one will feel quite tight. This is the one that's holding the door in position. So I don't want to go too far with that. Right now it'd be nice to have a friend, colleague holding that door in place. Like I've already said, I don't really have that luxury. So an old technique, rest it on your knee. It can be quite uncomfortable. If you're not a flexible or reasonably strong person, it can be quite painful at times, so make sure you're comfortable with the weight of the door. There's a few ways of doing this. Rest it underneath, and as you can see, I can now take the weight of that door on my knee, and that allows me to get in there with my hand and undo that nut. There we go. Now what I'm going to do, gently lift it off. I don't know if you can see on the camera because it's a bit close to my head, but I'm balancing this door on my knee. I have control with my left hand and my knee, height in and out, and I can manipulate nuts, bolts, clips with my other hand. I'm going to do that quickly because it's not especially comfortable, because they are relatively heavy. Place that carefully on the mats. There we go. Just need the two. Pop that behind there. That's that door off.